Hello, this is R Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between Stephen Hawking and Michael Q, 2D5. This game was played in the under 2200 section of Team Event 53. This game really surprised me. There's a number of reasons why I say that, and it all relates to the way I've been discussing games in the past on this league. Okay, you'll see what I mean when we get there. The game just follows a normal logical Queen's Gambit accepted. I'm assuming it's theory for a long time. We'll kind of watch the clocks here and pay attention to that. But Black just goes about his normal plan. He's going to expand with his pawns on the Queen side and get his guys out. And that's what White's going to do. He's going to try to get his men out too. So this, I'm pretty sure, is all theory. The clock seems to indicate that it is, although White's taking a little extra time. But one nice thing about the Queen's Gambit accepted from both sides of the board is that it, at least in this game, and the ones that I recall looking at, is both sides get developed. And I've always stressed development, because if your pieces aren't in play, they can't help you, right? And they can even hurt you if you need them to rush to the defenses of a certain part of the board. So that's one thing to say about playing the Queen's Gambit accepted as Black. You're going to get your men out. Okay. Now, I don't know. Let's see. Bishop c2 just seems, maybe it's just a little passive. Of course, what's White going to do? I think what White tries to do in these types of position is get e4 and e5 in, and maybe at this stage this is something he could have thought about. Let's see. White has control over d4, so can we play e4 right now? That's a good question. Can we? The idea is that it threatens e5 right away, and I'm not going to analyze that out to death. But just moving the bishop to c2 seems just a little bit wrong. White's got to do a certain few things here in this position, and one of them is finish his development on the queen side. The other way to try to finish the develop on the queen side would be to play a4, and this is a move that's at White's disposal for some time, but he never utilizes it. That doesn't mean it was the best move or not. It just says White needs a plan here, because clearly Black is getting his pieces out. And what continues to happen is White does get developed, but all of a sudden his game just collapses like a house of cards, and I'm trying to figure this out. Exactly why did this happen? And I can't figure it out. All I can do is suggest other plans. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so bishop c2, and now Black's almost completed development. He's neglected his king for just a little bit, but White can't get at that king, so really no worries. It's going to get developed here in a minute, but White still needs to finish developing his queen side, and he's going to do that in short order. e4. So there finally comes the move I've been wanting to play. How does Black handle this? Well, if he can get e5 in at the right time, then White can't push any further. Let's see how he handles that. Okay, pawn takes. Now White needs to take with the knight. Okay, and now bishop c5. And what does White do here? White's got a few complications here he's got to watch out about. Like, logically you might want to say, well, let's put the knight on f3 so we can play e5, but suddenly f2 is kind of weak. Black might get somewhere with knight g4, so let's just, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm not saying knight f3 is a good move, I'm just calling it a candidate move. We're trying to achieve our aim and get e5 in. Then knight g4 attacks this. How's White going to deal with that? Well, he might have to play rook back to f1. Could get a little ugly here. Let's just have a look. Okay. Now, if anything, White black could even try this move or something, knight e5, kind of double-edged. There's a point to it. It's one of those things I talk about in my lesson program of making moves based on impulse. Okay, it's got some ideas. You're saying, well, if white plays here, I'm going to do this, and then maybe I can get away with something like, no, I can't. Even though the white king side is weak, but it's worth a look. I'm just wondering, since white's king side got weak, can black get away with some kind of trick here? And I don't think he has enough. Okay, let's go back. You can analyze losing variations just fine. If you're looking at variations, you'll uncover which ones work and which ones don't. So I there took a look at a losing variation, but I had an idea. I saw that the white king side was getting weakened up, and maybe black could do something. Okay, so white played bishop e3. So finally, he's just about caught up in development, but black has the much better game here. It's his pieces are just getting active. You know, white's pieces have all pretty much moved once. So same with black's, but the black queen and bishop are working together. Okay, they're on this diagonal with pressure. The two knights are centralized. They're hitting squares. They're hitting g4, e4, c4. What else? The white knights are kind of hitting squares, but some of them are dead ends. White can't move to them. The knight on c3 really has no activity, and it's actually guarding a pawn, and the white bishop is guarding a pawn, where black's pieces are all attacking things. So just in the span of 14 moves, it seems like black has this incredible game, yet the white pieces are out. So what's going to happen is white's game is just going to fall apart here really, really fast, and like I say, I'm still trying to figure it out. And maybe some of these ideas here that now I've explained them a little bit with the circles and arrows, how white's pieces are defensive and black's pieces are aggressive, that might explain why. So what's white do? We can always go back and examine ideas of a4. Since I've given away that white loses this quickly, maybe white should try for a draw if he's worse off here at some point. If you trade off the queenside pawns, that certainly looks very drawish. 4 pawns against 4, all on one side of the board. And in many positions, you can even lose one of those pawns and still draw, simply because all the pawns are on one side of the board. As I'll say in many videos, team strategy is to win with white and draw with black. And I guess a good thing to add is, well, if you can't win with white, don't lose with it, because then the other team really gets an advantage because they've won with black. So I should add that this is the second game of the match, and white's team is already down 0-1, so they need a win here. But then again, you still have 2 other games to try for it. If you can draw, just put it in your teammates' hands. But here's the dilemma. So here white just completed his development. Black hasn't yet white's got the worst of it. So I think black just castled here. And white's worse off and really has no good logical move here. I can't find one. There's so many things wrong here with the white position. Like I was trying to say, well, what about f3? The idea of f3 is it takes some of the heat off of the pawn on e4, but what happens is, as a result, that knight on d4 just becomes weak, and the power of the queen and the bishop on that diagonal for black become very strong. So just to show you, f3, black just goes and plays this, and now he's threatening to win a piece, and white's in trouble here. See, there's 3 guys attacking it and only 2 defending it. White doesn't want to step into another pin with queen d2. That's just begging for disaster. And queen f2, black has one of those little fantasy tactics, drop a knight into g4. Okay, oops. So white might as well take. Then black grabs a pawn, then white moves, and black grabs a bishop, and white can't take it because he's going to lose his queen. So So it's really hard to find a move for white here. It's amazing that this game could just fall apart so rapidly. White's going to have to accept some doubled pawns here in a moment, and you'll see how that happens. So is it too late for a4 as the last shot, or maybe try to play a3 and b4 and chase that bishop out? I don't know, He plays bishop b1, and it seems okay, just in principle, but black is practically winning this game. It's just amazing. Knight eg4. Now white's going to have to accept double pawns, and all the black pieces still remain very, very active. And it's easy to criticize white's next move, but it's also at the same time, what else? He almost just has to do something. I don't know what to suggest. I don't know, is a4 still a possibility, or a3? But he played h3, which just weakens his king side a little further and just drives black exactly where he wants to go. Knight takes a3. Now, you can't play queen takes e3 because of e5, dropping a piece. So now black has not only won the bishop pair, for what that's worth, white has these double ugly e-pawns. So, black's just doing great here. e5, ouch. Knight f5, that's possible. White's just in trouble here. Knight c2, holding on to e3. But now look at the white pieces. They're all developed, but they're all developed poorly. The knight on c2 isn't going anywhere, and it's in turn blocking the bishop, which isn't going anywhere, even if it could, because e4 is in the way. Just pick up the pawn, win a pawn, still have a great position. The only thing not developed really, but it is developed, but not developed actively, is the rook on f8. Everything else black has is just right in the heart of the white camp. So it's difficult to suggest any move for white here. There's just too much going on, so black finds a good continuation and starts using little tricks called pins, and there it is. White can't take on e3 because the rook will fall. So, what do you do with white? You just basically you're losing. Black can take a rook here if he wants it, but instead he finds just a check, and white decides that this game is hopeless. I'm not going to play this anymore. And really, you can understand why. Where's he going to go? Black may even bother to take the rook. Knight f2 check is coming, and just ugly game for white. So, like I say, white completed his development on move 15, and 7 moves later he's totally lost, and he was almost lost when he completed his development. So, I don't know what the players have to say about this or anybody else. It's amazing that a developed game could fall apart so quickly, and yet we see some positions where somebody has no development and they survive and keep on going and going and going, and it's almost like it's not fair. How can this be? But that's chess. You never know when something good or bad's going to happen as a result of the moves you have. But let's just go back just a few moves. Let's go back just to here. Go back one more. To say that white would have a losing game in just a few short moves from this position, if you were told that, what are you going to do to hold on? Well, white can hold on a lot of ways. He'll only get a draw, but he can hold on a lot of ways. And maybe that would have been a better alternative. Let me just play a couple moves here. Okay, but let's play bishop d2. Granted, the bishop has no scope, but let's just play it. Let's avoid getting a lost game. Okay, let's assume that black wants some activity here. So open up some lines. Well, you got to be careful here that there's a pin. There's a pin coming on this guy. Wow. I'm just trying to say, play anything and just get the pieces out, but maybe anything isn't there. So that goes back to me saying bishop c2 was wrong. So let's play bishop d2 here, and then let's just exchange, and then play here. Then white goes over there and castle. Now, white shouldn't lose this, you would think. So, I don't know. Well, good game by Black. You really showed the error of the white setup. Congratulations. I want to thank everyone for looking and everyone for their time. We'll see you on the next game.